Hello there guys, and welcome to one of the 3 series I promised I would do on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, go do it right now, link in the description. And we're going to be playing the Stanley Parable. Apparently it's a very good game. I just bought it on Steam. Let's see what it is. Let's see if it lives off to the expectations. It's loading. I like it when it's loading. Okay, there we go.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Hi Stanley.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Good number.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-ending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. Stanley was happy.
I don't buy it. I call bullshit.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Don't worry, I've already earned this achievement. It took me a while. God, I hate it. I'd rather kill somebody than get that achievement. Although it was fun. Kind of fun. Just click on door 430 5 times and you'll see what will happen. You'll be given directions.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Fuck the police.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Okay, sorry guys, we're gonna do a normal playthrough this time.
Yes, truly a room
So we're gonna do a normal playthrough, we're gonna follow the instructions, then we're gonna experiment.
Admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
But no, I can't. Yes, I can. No, I can't. Yes, I can. No. Yes, I can. No. Then again, no. Hey, 411. Hey, yo. Shut up. I'm gonna walk through.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
It's 7 o'clock.
Shut up. Why the hell can't I jump? Oh yeah, there's an
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Just wait a second. Trust me. This is funny.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me, because literally, this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
I'm still waiting for something. It's really cool.
Maybe to you, this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favourite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Oh, God.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
I can't deny that. Let me see. I just want to see one more. Okay.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now.
Oh, fuck no.
You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose.
Oh, God. Whatever your name is, thank you.
Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
You're upstairs. You know what? Fuck him. You said I was dead. And then I like drugs and hookers.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
What the? No.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
I like the sound.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
I feel like I'm
he
in
would prove
Inception
it.
right now.
He would prove that he was in control.
Literally,
that this was
I'm
a dream.
in Inception.
So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
I'm Asian.
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of the world
So I'm
outside
running out
this
of
one.
battery. What about you
Let
guys?
me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want.
Button.
I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
Banana. Say banana.
I am okay.
Nope. Still here.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice?
I'm not doing this actually.
And everything went black.
Okay, it was a playthrough. Did we...
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this,
I literally have
and
a
in a
headache
certain
right now.
way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Yeah. Okay, seriously? This game is freaking awesome. So many choices. Okay, you know what? We're gonna do one more playthrough and then we're gonna be done because I'm running out of battery. Whoa, what the hell?
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
420.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow,
Yeah, 20%.
yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Sorry, I'm not letting you guys hear the perfect British voice. No.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you, or what? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you?
Yes.
Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
One chance. One chance. You get 1 chance.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Through the red door. I'm actually gonna walk through the red door.
Aha! Perhaps you
damn it, I'm
misunderstood.
colorblind. Hang on.
Stanley walked through the red door.
You know what? Let's muse him. Let them use him.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Oh.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this
Yes.
road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
Let's go. What is
You
this?
see, there's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you?
Totally
You
worth
don't
it.
think I put a lot of time into that, because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill
Yeah,
trees?
vehicles,
Work
vehicles.
with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far.
Vehicles.
Tell you what,
Vehicles.
let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback.
Okay.
There we go. A third option. This
Nope.
already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for... Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. A 1? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully
No.
express itself
I don't
mechanically
like
and artistically,
You
but a
mean-
1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
What is this? Oh god. Oh yeah, I am the best. I am the best. I am the best. Meh.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel
I'll give him a
motivated
2.
to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Fuck it, I'll give him a 1.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you?
Actually, I would
Perfect.
mind.
Let me boot it up.
15% battery. I'm gonna have to hurry up here. Oh my god, please. No,
In this
damn it, it's the
The
dead
baby
end.
crawls left towards
dead end thing.
danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I
You
think
know
the
what?
art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear
I'm actually gonna
once
try
you've been
this.
playing it for about 4
I'm
hours.
actually gonna
So
try
why
this.
don't you give it 4 hours of
Because-
play
yeah,
to make sure it's effective?
4 hours
Be
of play.
sure to keep notes on your experience.
Let's do this. Ooh, is that a butterfly? Shut up, kid. I'm trying to look at a butterfly.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because
Yeah.
you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done.
No,
It's
let's go to
over.
the dog.
Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game?
Yeah.
Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
So yeah, if you guys haven't heard, I've been working on a Pixelmon server with a few guys. Minecraft.
Well, Stanley, is
Well,
this any
speak of the
better?
devil.
At
So I've
last,
been
the
working
one
on
thing
a
you've
Pixelmon
always
server,
desired. A game I
I'll
had
put
absolutely
the IP
nothing to do with.
on my
But is it
Twitter. Be
enough?
sure to check that
Tell me
out.
that,
I'll put
Stanley.
it also try to
Will
put it
it
in the
ever
description.
be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house.
Well, it's gonna take a bit more to top me. I am one of the best builders in the whole
This
world.
will go
And
here.
you will
No,
never,
here. And
ever beat me, okay, Mr. Head Voice Thingy?
Let's see, what does it need? Yes,
You will never
of
beat me.
course.
I'm
And just
the
to finish it
best
all
Minecraft
off,
builder in the world.
yes.
Oh my god, that is so cool.
It's
so cooler than
complete.
everything I've ever built.
I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze
Blue,
upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. Ah, but you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable. Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if...
TV?
Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
I'm pretty sure this is the dead end ending where you can't do anything.
Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light?
No, have you? I can hear a spider.
Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
Alright, I'll take it. 12% battery, guys, and I am really... First thing I'm saying is, hoping to finish this. Oh my god. Is this... Portal 2!
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspiring. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell. Let's go, radio.
You need great tunes, man.
Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley.
Drop the damn cube so I can put it on the thing. Yeah, I really hope the guys that made Stanley Parable are Genius. You heard it here first, guys. From whoever that guy is. Yay!
No, I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these games, and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game if it makes it any richer for you, but as for me, I've had enough. So, why don't you get cozy in this room, and if you have any grand revolutionary ideas for the perfect video game, you can just sit there and let it ball up inside you for all eternity.
Holy crap. Radio? Damn it. Okay, speaking. Well, guys, that was Stanley. Oh, no. And you can see a light. Speaking of lights, Death Note. I'm back so I can see the original note. Light! Okay, light. Speaking of light, have you guys watched Death Note? It's really good. 9% battery here, and I'm about to log off. Oh my god, 427, here's where we install base. Thank you guys for joining me here at the end of the Stanley Parable. We will do another Let's Play next time, and I will see you then, guys. I am at 10 minutes remaining. Good night, guys. Love y'all.
Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked,
I'm not alone, I'm
frozen
here.
solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses,
Okay,
he
good.
got up from his desk and stepped out of his
Whoa,
office.
field of vision trippy. Okay. Alright guys.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
People hate
Stanley
it.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Don't worry, I've already earned this achievement. It took me a while. God, I hate it. I'd rather kill somebody than get that achievement. Although it was fun. Kind of fun. Just click on door 430 5 times and you'll see what will happen. You'll be given directions.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Fuck the police.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Okay, sorry guys, we're gonna do a normal playthrough this time.
Yes, truly a room
Shut
worth
up. So we're gonna do a normal playthrough, we're gonna follow the instructions, then we're gonna experiment.
admiring. It had really been worth the detour
Okay.
after all, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the
This
opposite
is
door,
really tough.
and got back on track.
But no, I can't. Yes, I can. No, I can't. Hello there guys, and welcome to one of the 3 series I promised I would do on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, go do it right now, link in the description. And we're going to be playing the Stanley Parable. Apparently it's a really good game. I just bought it on Steam. Let's see what it is. Let's see if it lives off to the expectations. It's loading. I like it when it's loading. Okay, there we go.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Hi, Stanley.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Good number.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-ending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. Stanley was happy.
I don't buy it. I call bullshit.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened.